Welcome, everyone. Today we are going to talk about part 2 of the values of Christ. And this is taken from the chapter 8, Teachings of Christ, volume 1. I'm going to talk about the values that Christ demonstrated and directed us to adopt. And we will cover today values 5 through 10. So let me first summarize for us, and then we'll read the excerpts. The teachings of Christ, we are told, are energetic lines that create a pattern in us. That pattern has power, it has depth, it has memory, and it guides us and nurtures us. Christ was and is the great creative artist, great creative genius. He spoke on multiple levels, and he constantly told us and asked us to hear and to listen and to see and know what he is really saying and apply it in our life. We have seen how creative geniuses know the magic of words in literature, of sound and music, of color and shape and art and design, and they know that these are lines of energies that draw into us a unique pattern. And when we come in contact with these patterns, we feel that surge of healing, that surge of joy, that surge of beauty that was impressed on that creative tapestry, we'll call it, creative form. They know that when we come in contact with these values, in however form they are presented, we change. We grow, and we demonstrated that. If you remember your most favorite music, your most favorite art, your most favorite saying, book, or teaching, or building, let's say, you remember. What about in nature? We talked about sunsets and sunrises and beautiful gardens and beautiful birds. God, the Creator, created that tapestry for us as well. So we see that we create links energetically to that original creation. And the stronger the creative artist is, the more linked he or she is with their soul, with the higher worlds, the more powerful is that creation. So remember that if you want to change yourself, lift yourself from an ordinary feeling, seek that artistic form, that creative form that has high sources in it. Okay, whatever it is that you need. Create Christ and great ones, masters, are creating energy beams for us so we can use them to weave our own tapestry. Humans grow internally in their souls when they experience these high-level energy patterns. That is why in every society we have places of beauty, green spaces, art centers, music centers, beautiful places that we can go, and the reason is that we grow in strength and we are able to manage life and heal and overcome obstacles when we are in touch with that energy pattern. Okay, there's a lot of information here for us to remember. When you are feeling somewhat unnerved, somewhat not together, seek that beautiful place that will instantly improve you and uplift you, whether it's in a memory or in actual physical contact. Here's another part of this that I'd like to emphasize today. When we experience these patterns together in community, the impact is greater. Consider a concert, consider an art gallery, consider a worship service, consider a choir that you listen to. When we build a spiritual community together, that one line is expanded, and together the spiritual community creates a new pattern based on those energy patterns. Okay? Group work gives us strength. Community work gives us strength, because now I and you can rely on each other. We can rely on each other. It's a bigger, larger, deeper tapestry. It has more nuance. It has more variety. It has more resilience. Okay, doesn't it? Yes. So we come together in families, communities. We have sacred rituals, sacred sites, and there's a reason for it. When we need a different nurture at different times, it's the group tapestry that will heal us. We may not have just that one energy pattern that somebody else has. See? We might not have that one nuance that somebody else helped us build. And when we touch that together, we build something greater healing that other people, angels and devas and other people, can take advantage of and use. A master teacher, Christ, has offered for us threads of power, threads of love, threads of truth that will build inside of us, individually and collectively, a pattern that is unbeatable. Each seemingly simple thread can be seen in many, many, many ways. For example, when Christ says, "Love one another as I have loved you," I might think of it as one way. You might think of it as another way. Somebody else will think of it as another way. And we can bring those together. And together we have a strong pattern that reflects all the nuances of loving one another. And what does that mean? It's so strong and beautiful. Now I'm going to take this to a different point for us to look at. And just as a sidebar, consider how important it is for society to have beautiful places. Not just green spaces, but beautiful places. Access to art, access to music, access to symphonies, access to beautiful nature sounds, access to places of worship. How important it is. It should not be just accessible to people who have money. Okay? You see what that means? Very important for us to remember that what uplifts us, everybody else needs. Let's look at another part of that. Mental and emotional health concerns are now emerging as an actual legitimate concern in people. Wow, politicians are even talking about it because they'll get votes. But how important it is. It is no longer dismissed as irrelevant condition of just some weird people. Okay, it's taken as something very serious. It's a serious condition that people are suffering from, especially now. Several years ago, I asked a friend of mine who was a lifelong child and adolescent psychiatrist. He has now passed to the higher worlds, and I talked to him because he continued his active practice until he was 83 years old. He loved his work. And I asked him, what helps us overcome successfully emotional and mental health issues? Can it be done? You've dealt with it. Can it be done? And he said, yes, but it needs 3 factors. Okay, the first one, he said, you can't do without it, is good, sound medical diagnosis and treatment. You've got to know what's going on. That's number 1. 2, therapy with a qualified individual. Not hocus pocus, qualified, he said, medically qualified. Number 3, continuous active participation in spiritual community. Continuous active participation in spiritual community. This gentleman went to church his whole life, came to every group function we had. Every group function, and I know from his life that he suffered greatly as a child and growing up. But he was the most joyful person I ever knew. The most joyful. And I have thought about this spiritual community. And it is so important for us to remember that when we do not relate with others in person, under the umbrella of beauty and love and joy and great ideas, we feel lonely, isolated, unimportant, forgotten, unwanted. So this is why all spiritual and religious teachings advocate group work. Come to Sunday worship. Come to Friday night prayer. Come to Saturday prayer. Why is that? Because together we build a community tapestry. They lift us. And when we do it with intention, with respect, something is created that will help all of us. And we see how in community gatherings of worship, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a memorial service, we are uplifted, aren't we? Why is that? Because we come together under the banner of great teachings, and we say those prayers, we sing those songs, we remember those mantras, and it lifts us. So this is really important for us to consider as we go forward in our discipleship. All right, let's go now to the 10 values. The first one, as you remember, was fatherhood of God and brotherhood of humanity. I'm just going to state those. Second one was goodwill among humans. Number 3 was harmlessness. And number 4 was forgiveness, to release the entrapment of reliving in pain and sorrow and wrongful treatment. So that was number 4. Number 5, I mentioned briefly, is watchfulness. Let's go to the watchfulness quote that I have shared with you. Let's read it together, that one paragraph. The next thread, and this is on page 150, the next thread, the 5th one, is watchfulness. Christ said to be watchful. What does this mean? Watchfulness means intense observation of your actions, speeches, thoughts, emotions, relationships, and actions of others, their voices, their intentions, their motives. You are awake. See, it's an intentional, moment by moment, hour to hour focus. And when we do that, we can say, what are you saying, Gita? What are you saying? What are you doing? What are you thinking? See, it's intentional. And when we do that, I have found that we catch our glamours, we catch our illusions, we catch the ego that sneaks out, and we can correct it. Let's go to the next section. Watchfulness. You are going to be watchful. And you're going to think on your own, what does that mean for you? What does it mean for me to be watchful? And again, prayers and mantras and meditations, one of the designs for them is to make us conscious, intentional, and watchful. Let's go a little bit further. Watchfulness, let's read together, is the ability to see the pattern and harmonize your life with that pattern. So you're going to say, am I being loving? There's a loving pattern I need to be part of. Am I being forgiven? There's a forgiveness pattern that I need to be part of. And you could catch it when we are watchful. Let's continue. Watchfulness is the ability not to let any thought, any word, or any action hurt people. Wow. Because what happens when we hurt people? We have a wound created in our subtle body, and that person is feeling hurtful from us. And maybe when that person sees us, there's like a little hurt vibration, right? I feel hurt. What do I do? How do I talk to that person? So there's a little discordancy that's happened. Okay, so but if we're watchful, we'll zip our mouth. You see? Let's continue. Watchfulness is the ability not to let any thought, any word, or any action hurt people. Read with me. Watchfulness means to see the effect of your actions before you've performed the actions. Wow, what is that going to take? Okay, that's so beautiful. You have already seen it. Right before anything happens, you've already seen it. When you see it, you do not do it because it is ugly. This is watchfulness, awakenness. Okay? You might wonder, do I need to really say that? Do I need to really correct that person? Do I really need to make that comment? Where am I coming from? Do I need to constantly jump and make comments all the time? See, watch it. Watch also the inside comments. Let's go to the next part. Watchfulness, let's read together, is the ability to see where your steps are taking you. Look what that would mean. It means I have to slow down, doesn't it? It means my agenda is not the only agenda in this room. It means that I have to be careful before I do anything and consider other people, consider the context in which I am in. Something truthful and wonderful can be said in the wrong context, and it'll hurt people. It'll hurt us. It'll hurt our reputation even. You see, so you are going to see before anything happens. Let's read. Watchfulness, again, is the ability to see that destination and the ability to compare that destination with that pattern Christ gave us. Wow, that's a high bar, isn't it? But we know that. We have morals, we have integrity, we are good people, but this is pushing us to another level, saying you are going to be Christ conscious. And if your piece does not fit into that pattern, you do not put that piece of the jigsaw puzzle there because it doesn't fit there. When we gather together in groups and community and we're building community energy, it's so important for us to know how to fit in that community. And each of our talents, each of our physical abilities, our mental abilities, our emotional abilities, our energy is important to build that community, right? So we're going to put the best out, and we are going to be proactive in our actions. Let's go to the next part. Watchfulness also means that you must be aware that nobody is driving your car except you. Watchfulness is the ability immediately when you see that a post-hypnotic suggestion is controlling you, you stop it. This is your car. Do not let other people drive that car. It is your car, your sacred life. You lead it according to your own visions. Improve it. Listen to advice even. Listen to wisdom, but do not let them drive your car. We know that in ageless wisdom teaching, lower psychism, aura reading, psychic readings are all discouraged. Why? Because they make a huge impression on us and we start living what was told to us and we don't know where it came from. Great teachers, great psychic leaders do not tell you what your fortune is. They just don't. It's none of their business, basically. If they open their mouth, they're showing off. So it's the same thing for us. Be aware you don't take over the driving of somebody else's car, right? Right. It's not right. Are you ready for number 6? Okay, let's go to number 6. The 6th one is striving. Christ gave a tremendous teaching on striving when he said, "Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect." What does it mean, perfection? It is so simple. Perfection means to improve your life. That is all. If you are dressing yourself, dress better. If you are eating, eat better. If you are marrying, marry the best one. Live better. Bring the best children, the best places. Talk better. Behave better. This is not metaphysics. It is not hocus pocus, abstract things, this or that. It is just common sense teaching. Improve yourself, that is all. Wow, let's go to the next one. Let's read that entire part of striving. In your office, if you are doing hocus pocus work, don't do it. Improve your life. Improve your writing, your typing, your singing, your piano playing. Improve it. Don't just sit there. That is what striving means. There you go. I like that. Don't just stand there. Where are you striving to the pattern? Now that's interesting. Where are you striving to the pattern? So immediately we have a picture that there's this big picture, an energetic pattern that's pulsating, and that's what we're striving to. So you can take the meaning of that pattern that fits you. Okay? That fits you. That is your need. You are becoming the externalization, the embodiment of that pattern. And remember, why is that? Why do we want to become the embodiment of a great pattern? Because that's how evolution happens. That's how we evolve, how we improve, how we grow as humanity, as a planet even. And if each of us takes just one part of that pattern and applies it to what we need, what we can do, all of life improves. I love this because it is really telling me our individual effort matters, our individual approach matters, and we are going to continuously strive and never give up. That's how we overcome our egos and our glamours and illusions, our personality issues, and we grow into higher initiations. Are you ready for number 7? Okay, let's read together. The 7th value that he gave is faithfulness. Faithfulness to each other is so rare. Faithfulness to your inner divinity. Faithfulness to your principles and ideals. Faithfulness to your promises. Faithfulness to your visions. Faithfulness to your commitments. He said, my teaching is life. Wow, when somebody is unfaithful to us in some way, doesn't that hurt? It stings so bad. So bad. Imagine when we are unfaithful to values that our parents taught us, great ones taught us, how that must hurt the people who gave us that value, the people that we made a promise to. It's so, I thought of how much pain that is that we feel when something is done unfaithfully, and how important it is for us to be faithful to each other, our friendship, our love, the honor that we give to each other, that we honor each other's sacredness, our children, our spouses, our friends, all humanity. Let's go to the next part of that. It means that his words must be living actions, motions, emotions, and thoughts in you, nothing else. They have to be living actions. That's why in the Agni Yoga teachings, for example, it's called living ethics. It's not just something written on a piece of paper, it's called living ethics. And when we live them, what do? We sprout them and we create a pattern through them. If they are not expressed and lived through your life, it is not good. And we wonder why. Why is it not good? Because it creates a lot of weight that's undigested material in our aura. See, people know all the teachings. All religious people, all spiritual people know all the principles. They know all the golden rules. They know all the values. But when we don't live them, they become dead weight in us. Okay? They cannot help you. But if you use the values, the ideals he brought, you will be very happy, successful, and victorious in everything. You cannot beat these values. It's true, right? Let's go to the next one. I love this one. It is so appropriate for all of us who want to be great parents, grandparents, friends, teachers, leaders. It's so important to understand this and really ponder, where does this quality inside of us come from? Where does it come from? Let's read it together. Well, let's read the entire quote section. It's not too much. The 8th one is to relate on the level of your audience. Be a child with the children. Be wise with the wise people. Be equal to the grown-ups, and be like teenagers. Don't open your sail to the winds of vanities, but speed your path by manifesting the higher values. That's a sentence in itself that needs a meditation, doesn't it? So you can think about what this means throughout the day, throughout the weeks coming up. What does it mean? Not to open your sail to the winds of vanities and have vanities take us across life. Let's go to the next one. Go with their level. When you have children, speak just like children. When you have wise people, speak just like a wise man, so that you do not hurt them or you do not bore them. Do you see? Keep the appropriate level, because the best speech, the best relation is the relation that challenges your friend to improve his life. Because when we show off and speak that's not appropriate, it turns the other person off, doesn't it? Because at that point, we're not really expressing what we know to be the truth, but we're showing off. You are going to relate in a way that that man understands you, absorbs you, your teaching, your words, your relationships, and changes his life and makes it a better life, improves it. So meet the level. It is so important to meet the level. This is not easy. I think all of us need to understand how to speak through our truth without being preachy, by being appropriate, by saying the words in just the right way that can be understood, by exemplifying it in silence perhaps. Do you see? We are constantly teaching by taking that tapestry with us everywhere we go. We are constantly able to teach and to guide and to uplift others just by being a part of that pattern. Does that make sense to you? So we're going to really put that pattern on us, become part of that, and know exactly when to be appropriate. When and how and where and with whom. Okay, I love this next one too. Let's go to the 9th value, that is sincerity. This is one of the loving ideals that he emphasized so strongly. Maybe 100 times in the New Testament he said, "Be careful of hypocrites, double-faced people who have different motives in their minds and different smiles on their faces. People who are not loyal to their inner self present themselves in many ways and means so that they serve their lower nature instead of their higher nature. Or they are so corrupted inside that they put artificial smiles on their faces in order to cheat you." That is why he said, "Be careful of hypocrites." Wow. Wow. Hypocrisy has become quote unquote science and quote unquote an art form in so-called leaders, politicians, business people. It's become so prevalent that we really have to watch. Why is that? Because when people are hypocrites and they tell others lies and they manufacture facts, for example, what happens? We get a distorted pattern that the dark forces can enter and influence a population. Okay? This is very important. And for us to really think, what does this mean? That we do not listen to hypocrites and liars, that we are able to see it instantly and say, no, that's not for me, even if sugary coated rather. I listen sometimes to religious leaders, to politicians, and I think, where in the world are they coming from? They're just lying, and people believe them. And what does that do? When we continuously, we meaning collective humanity, take in lies, peddle lies, repeat lies and fabrications, we lose a most precious part of our mental body. It's called the mental unit that is the door to the higher mind, to the reality layer in the universe. Okay, just remember this and think about it. There's a reality of truth in the universe. That's the light of God, the truth of God. And when we don't have access to it, we will start going lower and lower and lower. And what happens, we become more controlling, more fascistic, more totalitarian. And I'm talking not just big leaders, I'm talking even individually in our life, we become bossy, unloving, unforgiving, and so on. Does that make sense to you? Be really, really careful of this. It is so important. Hypocrites are everywhere, and it is just unbelievable when you open your eyes and your ears to see how we believe hypocrites and how we actually do the work of hypocrites when we're not careful. And as a sidebar, one of the things that we will talk about later on when Christ reappears is the first thing he's going to remove are glamours. And his angels and devas and disciples will help us have etheric vision. What happens when we see beyond the physical plain truth? We will immediately see when the lie is being said. You see, but now we have to start preparing for that by asking that question. Is this true? Where is it coming from? What is it based on? And what is its implication? Okay. 10th value that Christ emphasized, let's read it together strongly, was the continuity of life, the everlasting life. He taught that life does not end when you pass away. It is another birth in higher realms. To me, this is so important because so many people we love, we lose, and we have to understand this continuity. And I looked at all the 10 values and I thought continuity of life can be built in this world through practicing continuously these 10 values. Let me repeat them for us. Continuously seeing all life as one. Continuously expressing goodwill. Continuously being harmless. Continuously forgiving, no matter what it is, how wronged we've been. Forgive and let it go. Continuously be awake and watchful. Not what the other person is going to do wrong and correct them, but what we are going to do. Continuously strive so that we alone and in a group can take ourselves to a new awareness, a new livingness. Continuously be faithful to our principles. We know what our principles are. Continuously be humble. Let our ego and vanity go. Continuously be sincere and honest. Be silent when we need to be silent. And as we practice continuously in this life, we build lines of energy into the higher worlds and develop continuity of consciousness. This is the tapestry that Christ is creating for us, continuity of consciousness, so that we will know at any time what we are doing and what we are building in all worlds. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you for listening. Let's close with 3 Oms.